Order, and just to be really fun. I mean, seriously. All right, we are here today on Monday, November 3rd at 4:30 in City Council Chambers, 3rd floor, City Hall Annex, November 3rd, 2025. We have two presentations today. We're going to start with the natural gas bid results for future budgets with the one and the only Cheryl Fournier, and then after her presentation, we will move on to the presentation from Sanford High School Scheduling Committee studying potential changes to the 2026-27 schedule and discussion. And just before you start, Cheryl, I'm just gonna I know we're not in a regular meeting, but I'm just gonna say that. We've been starting all of our regular meetings, despite this being a workshop. I'm just gonna read the mission. Mission of the Sanford School Department is to prepare all students with future-ready skills and knowledge to empower success in a rapidly changing world. Okay, and take it away.
Great. So I'm here today to give you an update because I really need to get a consensus so that I can move forward on this. Over the past few weeks, I've been working on natural gas bid for our high school and our Pride School are both on natural gas. And so over the past couple of weeks, I've been working with Carol and Mike from Freedom Energy and went out to bid for our natural gas. Currently, we're on a standard bid contract that averages about 79 cents per unit, and it lasts for over the last 3 winters, and 88% of our volume happens over the winter. We currently got pricing, which you have a copy of the bid in your proposal, in your bid contract, from 2 companies with 3 bids ranging from 12 months to 60 months. The prices range from 66 cents, 0.7 to $1.15.55. And it will take our rates from a standard rate and bring us to a 5-year rate, or we're proposing to go to the 5-year rate, because Unitil's rates currently are much lower during the summer and a higher rate during the winter. That's how Unitil does their rates. But if we go to this, it'll be a flat rate year-round. We believe, from what Freedom Energy believes, they've heard that Unitil's going in for 90 cents for the winter, which then would average us right around where we're going to end up for our average rate for the whole year. So this would bring our rate to be the same rate for 5 years. And so we're proposing to go to a 5-year rate, and that would keep us constant for the next 5 years. I also believe that they could not believe they gave us a 5-year term. They've never seen them go that far. So we believe we should go with NGR for 60 months at 73 cents.
Cheryl, just to interrupt, this is a workshop. So
Yep.
just a reminder, we cannot take any action in a workshop. This is going to be an agenda item on the November 17th school committee meeting. So I think what Cheryl's looking for this evening is presenting the information to see if there's any questions or any concerns so that we can be able to address those or be able to get ready for that.
To get a general consensus, I guess, is what we need. One good thing that we did find out, we thought we were going to have to pay $2,500 to get a meter put in, a telemeter put in at the high school, but come to find out we already had a telemeter in at the high school, so that's good. So that actually ended up being a savings, so that works out really well. All they had to do was turn it on. So I am hoping I can get a general consensus to move forward with a 5-year contract.
Can you just explain what the 10% monthly swing, full swing, 10% monthly, like there's like a few different terms on here that between the three different, that, just to get it clear.
Yeah, so what they do is, it means that the 10% would be, you would go down 10% and up 10% between the summer and the winter. And then full swing is that it would go way down during the summer and then way up during the winter, and it would average those rates in the full amounts. So it would be similar to what Unitil does. But NGR is doing the 10%. And so the amount for the summer would be higher than what Unitil does, but the winter rates would be lower. And so it would be a 10% swing between the winters and the summers, which is one of the rates that the other program, Sprague, did also. So.
And just, so when you say we're in a 5-year rate, but is it only a 5-year contract, or is it a longer contract?
We would do a 5-year contract if we went, that's what their proposal is, that they think we should go with, because where the rate, when you look at the difference between the 40-month and the 60-month, the difference is only $3,000, that they feel that we should really go with the 5-year contract because of that, because really it's a really good rate. And to hold it for that long, they feel you just can't beat it. You really can't. And if you look at the difference between what Sprague is giving us for a rate and what NRG, I keep wanting to say NGR, it's a difference of $60,000. So that's huge.
That is huge. And, I mean, it's only 3 cents a gallon or whatever, but no reason other than not to go with the 40 versus the 60 month? Because, I mean, it is.
They were thinking just because then you get the extra 20 months for a very small dollar amount, that they were thinking the prices are only going to go up. And so they felt that for that amount of cost, you're locking in for a 5-year term for a school department. They felt that savings that they feel that we'll actually get, because they really feel that the rates are going to go up drastically between now and then in those 5 years.
And we're currently at a 79-cent rate.
Yes.
So this is actually beating that. Okay.
Beating that, yes. Correct.
And Cheryl, this will secure our pricing and hold it for no increases for our natural gas supply for 5
Correct.
years.
For 5 years.
Which is a good thing on about $150,000 expense.
Correct.
Okay, so for a frame of reference, we spend approximately about $300,000 with Unitil each year.
Yep.
And when you're talking about the natural gas itself, you estimate that at about 52 to 60%.
Yes,
So we'll come back to be able to get those savings on that.
right. Yep.
Did you have anything?
Yeah, it seems really fantastic. Any insight into why it's so good? Because, I mean, it seems almost too good to be true, kind of.
So Freedom feels that they're really trying to get a whole placehold with a school department or municipality, is one of the reasons. And the second reason is they're trying to get a placehold in the southern Maine area. So they're kind of trying to buy into us, trying to get one large company to buy from them. And so if they want to buy us, I'm happy for that. I'll take the 5 years.
Well, sometimes you see bids and people will do that, but then they're looking this next year to be able to recoup this. In this situation, we'd be looking at a hold for 5 years.
Yeah,
Lisa, did you?
exactly.
Yeah, you said that we're currently paying 79 cents per unit
On average,
on
yes.
average, but our current costs are 300,000 a year?
So our current cost for the whole Unitil is about 300,000. Approximately about 150,000 of it is supply, and half of it is the delivery. So we will still have to pay Unitil for the delivery portion of it, but the supply is about 150 to a little over that
So we'll
Because we had a very mild winter last year.
So we're still going to, so the 131,580 will be half of our bill. We'll still have another 150,000 to pay to
To
Unitil.
Unitil for our
Okay.
demand still.
So it's not that
Right.
peaches and cream.
So,
Okay.
so 150,000 though will remain stable for 5 years, which would be awesome.
So we're not voting, but we're giving you consensus. I'm giving you consensus that we can move forward and vote on this on the November 17th.
Perfect, thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right, so we will now move on to the presentation for the Sanford High School Scheduling Committee, setting potential changes to the 26-27 schedule and discussion. I just will start, and I don't know if the two of you, whoever is presenting from that committee wants to come up. So this afternoon's workshop's a follow-up from the June scheduling workshop that we had. We're going to hear your presentation, and that you studied studying the changes, the potential changes for the schedule. And as many of us know, there's a lot of energy and emotion regarding the high school schedule, and I want to be clear, this is a workshop and it is for information. There will not be an action or a vote today, and if a vote is needed, it will be done at our next regular scheduled meeting on November 17th. There will be public comment allowed after the presentation, and we will have a 3-minute, and when I'm just going to read sort of the public comment, because I don't know if there's anybody online as well, but in order that we can hear from the largest number of different voices, each speaker will be limited to 3 minutes. For those that have not participated in our meetings before, I want to review a few rules ahead of time to ensure that public comments process goes smoothly and there's no surprises. At the outset, we ask the speakers to identify themselves. Please try to be brief and not to repeat yourself. We know discussions of school-related issues can get emotional, but please remember our children are watching. We are neighbors, so please be civil. We will not permit profanity. Well, I don't think we can skip that. Speakers should be direct all their comments to the school committee. This is an opportunity for the committee to listen to the opinions of the public or staff that relate to school and education matters. It's not a public debate or conversation, so no questions will be directed to the committee, and the committee will not be responding to any questions if they are asked. We are here to listen. Thank you for your patience while I made this introduction, and I hope that with confidence that it will be a very constructive and helpful meeting. Thanks so much. All right.
Thank you, Amy. Can I jump in?
Yeah.
Thank you. To build off of those comments, we've been talking about the schedule for a while. It was something that, in my time in Sanford, that has talked. We went from doing a 4-block schedule, and we went to 5-block schedule that looked at a full 5-block schedule, looked at skinny blocks, it looked at different things. We actually put a committee together that met for about a year and a half, and we were looking at that schedule, realizing that there's no perfect schedule. There just isn't. I think it's important, you're going to hear me say that a lot tonight. I think it's important for us to be able to keep that front and center. We went with the schedule change, and as we went through with that schedule change, my feeling was we wanted to give enough time for that schedule change to take enough of the bouncing back and forth. And so that was my feel, that was my thought process. In our meetings with the SFT, it was brought up to me by the SFT that, hey, are we really looking at this schedule to see is it working the way that it was intended? And I was a little bit hesitant at the beginning to be able to say we want to give this time to be able to take hold. But we did look into that information. We looked at that last spring, as we came back to say, how is this schedule working? We held a couple workshops in the month of May to talk about the schedule. We did discover that there were some things happening in that schedule that I think were not what was part of the original plan that we looked in it. We do have, there's impact, obviously, on our staff at Sanford High School, our teachers, and our staff at Sanford Regional Technical Center. As we talked about that last spring, there was, we did hear at the workshop level, we did hear from staff who are expressing concerns about that. We did look into it. One of the challenges that we had last year was the timing of it coming back into May, as we were looking at making any changes for that and wanting to know what, no one wanted to make a decision that was going to have a change without making sure that we could be able to look into things fully. The timing of that was not great. So in June, at the June meeting, the school committee passed a motion to direct the superintendent to come up with a report on the Sanford High School, Sanford Regional Technical Center, looking at if we were moving from a 5-block schedule to a 4-block semester or a 4-block alternating day schedule for the 2026-2027 school year. And we wanted that report to also be able to look at things such as special education impacts. You know, that came up last spring, where would we be able to meet the IEP requirements if we did make a schedule change, because there was some concern expressed at that time. We also wanted to make sure that if we did go back to a 4-block schedule, did we have the staffing that would be necessary for us to be able to do that, or would we have to come back and require additional staffing for that, or are there going to be some budget implications in doing that? The school committee, also looking at the timeline, wanted to identify for us that November was that time for us to be able, if we were going to be going back into making any changes, to be able to do that in a way to help us prepare and get out in front of that. So as we came back in starting the school year, we did have a part of a process that was established that Sanford High School was looking at the schedule. That was information that they had come back and be able to put together about a timeline to be able to come back and do some of that information. Some of that was also going to include some surveys in terms of being able to look at the different stakeholder groups, obviously our students, first and foremost, our staff, and also looking at families and parents getting information. We did have Lisa, representing the school committee, was someone to kind of be able to join on to that committee. So tonight's workshop, we're hoping to come in to be able to present some of that information and findings for the school committee to be able to take that information and to be able to ask any questions. I do think that this is one thing I do want to reiterate. This is really challenging because as you look at it this evening, as you look as the data comes back, I mentioned that there's no perfect schedule. If there was a perfect schedule, you'd see all school departments would be able to come back and be following that. In terms of that, we have a lot of populations that are coming back and being impacted. Our staff is really being impacted. I think last year, as we came back and heard from the staff, that resonated with the people to say, hey, this is something that is an impact in terms of what we're looking at and doing that. I speak for myself, but I know I speak for the school committee members, I speak for our administrators, that no one wants to come back and say, yeah, we're really trying to tick off our staff. I know that no one wants to come back and say we're not trying to do what is in the best interests of students. That's why we're here. That's what we're always being able to come back and guide that. So that's why it's going to be, for us, as we present this information without seeing a perfect schedule. And we know this, those of us who are on the committee that studied the schedule, you're always trying to look at the different factors and the different impacts. So I want to make sure that, knowing that we do our best to try to present the information, to present the facts, provide the proper context that's needed to be able to do that. In your folders that we've put together are a couple things. There were some things about pros and cons that the group developed on the various schedule models that we've talked about. Those are in there. We also came back in, last year, we had some concerns that came back, especially from our SRTC teachers. We wanted to make sure that those were also, you had access to those. We also have information in there from the survey results. There were 3 different surveys that went out. There were surveys that went to our students, survey that went to staff, survey that went to parents on those. So you have that information that is also there. We also, as we went through this process, Melissa had some questions that came up regarding this, and so the group worked hard to be able to get that information the best that we can to be able to share that with that. That is also in your folder in terms of what we have. As we start, I want to also, before we turn it over to Tracy and Beth and Matt, I want to thank, first of all, the group at the high school who met. I want to thank all the staff that came back that were interested in participating in that. Also want to thank Beth Lambert for, Beth, your work in coming back to look at this, and Laura trying to get the information that comes back. A lot of information has gone into that, and that's very much appreciated in terms of coming back to do that. So with that, I'll turn it over. I think if you want to walk us through the committee and what you've worked on with that, that would be a good starting point. After that, we can probably transition into the surveys. We'll have Beth Lambert be able to do that, and then we can finish by looking at some of the questions that have already been asked by the school committee. Sound good?
So I think Superintendent Nelson has given a really good background of where we are today from what started last year. I know when I was hired in July of 2024, one of the things that I was involved in over the summer was hiring of staff, as well as meeting with staff and asking them what's going well and some areas of concern. And through those meetings, it was pretty consistent that staff were expressing a concern about the 5 blocks. And when I say that they were, expressing a concern, we all heard that in this spring about the number of preps that they had. So that means how many classes they have to prepare for. And that was legitimate with that. And with that, it's not just about, when I say that, it's not saying like, oh, I have so much work to do. It is about the number of classes they're prepping for, that therefore, where's the quality in the quantity of classes they're prepping for the students. So that was automatically on my radar as we started. And then, as Superintendent Nelson mentioned, we went on and the teachers were asking us, are we actually going to look into this like it was decided? So we presented a lot of data in the spring and looked at next steps because it was too close to really make a schedule change for that. So from there, the committee was formed, and we were looking at, as Superintendent Nelson said, what was the impact on special education students? Could we make this happen and meet the needs of them through special education law and their IEPs? With that, current staff. Could we actually make a 4-block schedule work with current staff and not increasing and having a budget impact there? So also looking at if we do go back to a 4-block, which is longer classes, also recognizing that we would have to look at that school year to have some professional development around engagement activities of lengthening classes. We want to make sure that students are engaged and that it's quality instruction going on during that time period. So we got together, and another thing that we really had to focus on was creating surveys, and we wanted to make sure that those surveys were not biased in any way. You saw the numbers from staff, and overwhelmingly, staff were looking to return back to a 4-block schedule. I appreciate the staff, and I recognize that they're professionals, and I trust them with that. But in order to be able to come forward with the survey results tonight, we wanted to make sure that it was presented by the same two people, which was myself and Beth Letourneau. So we got together, we had several meetings. I would also like to echo Superintendent Nelson in thanking the time that the staff put in after school, early morning meetings. And again, yes, Bethany and Ann and Cindy Haney, a lot of work went into researching what we were asking for data. So we got together with Department Chair Ann Hall for the Special Education Department, Stacy Bissell, who is the Special Education Director, and Beth and myself, and going over the numbers, the class sizes, what we could do in order to make that work in a 4-block schedule, and the answer is yes, we could make that happen. In addition, with the current staff, could we make the 4-block schedule work? Again, yes, we could make that happen. So I think one of the biggest things for me being in Sanford High School is, along with the concerns that people had, I noticed a culture of students wanting to leave school. And this data was presented in the spring as well, but I just wanted to circle back around because I think that was one of my biggest points, is I saw our upperclassmen coming in late and leaving early. We saw an increase in 266% of late arrival and early dismissals from 2017, 2018, which was our last 4-block schedule. And I understand that, it is a culture when we did these surveys, which I'm not going to go into the surveys because that's someone else's job tonight. But even with students and talking, they were adamant that they wanted to make sure that they would still have that early release and late arrival option. If we went back to a 4-block schedule and went back to the credit requirements that we had, that would still be an option. It's been an option if you were on track for graduation. That would not disappear, but we would not see, with the current schedule of only needing 27 credits with 40 opportunities, it wouldn't be that large of an impact with students not being there. And those students being there, it sets a standard for our underclassmen and our freshmen and our sophomores that are watching our juniors and seniors arrive at 10:30, leaving. It sets the bar of let's get it done. Let's do the checklist of credits, which isn't the culture that I would like to see as principal in that school. So that is where we are. I am going to turn it over to Beth to talk a little bit about the process with the surveys and how that went in presenting to the students.
Thank you. So I was going to talk specifically about the pros and cons. Beth Lambert's going to talk about the survey data after, but this was part of the presentation that all students had last week. We met with the freshmen and then juniors and seniors in the Performing Arts Center so that all students could hear the same presentation. Thank you. Freshmen separately, and then sophomores and juniors together in the Performing Arts Center. So if you go on here, thank you. You can look at, if you can go back to the top, Beth, sorry. If we look at, and these pros and cons list was created by the scheduling committee at the high school. So this is not just done by myself and Ms. Gibson, but also by the entire committee and what they saw as pros and cons. So for the first one, which is the semester blocks, we think of that as the 4-block every day, 1 semester with 4 new classes starting in January for a second semester. Some of the pros, you can go down now, thank you, were only 4 classes at once, reduces daily workload and stress, sees teachers every day for consistent support, more engaged and focused learning, reduces study halls and unstructured time. The thought was if we went to a 4-block schedule, as we had had in the past, when we had the 4-block every day first semester, we did not run study halls because there was not a need. It would increase instructional time for all courses. So currently with the 5-block schedule, students have 60-minute classes, 60. If we were to go to a 4-block, it would go to 80 minutes per block. It allows for deeper exploration of topics with extended class periods, which I just explained the time. And go down, Beth, a little more. Thank you. Some of the cons. Fast-paced, only one semester to master material. Potentially long gaps between courses. So an example is if you took math semester 1 of sophomore year, that ends in January, you may not get math again until semester 2 of junior year. Although I will say as a school counseling department, we try hard to not have that happen, but it does have to happen, unfortunately, at times. Weaker retention in sequential subjects like math and world language, which I just mentioned. Missing schools obviously creates a significant gap in learning. You don't build year-long student-teacher relationships. I will add, though, even in a 4-block semester schedule, we would still run some classes every other day. An example would be band, chorus, as well as advanced placement would remain every other day courses for the year. SRTC Block 5 electives would not be offered, and then options per semester would be limited to 4. So obviously, if kids are taking 4 blocks instead of 5, you're taking less courses. Do you mind going back up, Beth? Thanks. Next, the red-white year-long. So this is still a 4-block schedule, but it's 4 blocks on a red day and then 4 different blocks on a white day. So year-long courses improve some of the pros. Year-long courses improve learning and retention and depth. Helps to build strong student-teacher relationships all year. Potentially fewer scheduling conflicts for electives SRTC, music, and art. Alternating days provide time to complete quality work, and so part of the presentation that we did with the students was if you have math on red day, and let's say you have a performing arts performance that night, and you have a big math test, you know that you don't have to study, although you should, necessarily that night. You could wait till the next night because there would be a day in between classes. Keep student engaged in meaningful coursework year-round. Would increase instructional time. So whether we have the 4-block semester or the 4-block rotating, the amount of time that you're in the courses would remain the same, 80 minutes a block. Some of the cons, managing 8 classes at once could feel overwhelming. We would, however, if we ran the 4-block rotating, have to offer study hall, in my opinion, for students that wanted it. With snow days and weekends, it could be possible of a 2 to 3 day gap between classes, depending on when those times landed. As with the 4-block rotating or the 4-block semester, SRTC Block 5 electives would not be offered. With the rotating, there would not be opportunity to retake a failed class in the same year. So for example, if a student potentially fails their sophomore English in the first semester, we try to get them into the sophomore English the second semester, especially if we're not running a repeater, for example, sophomore English class. And also longer periods could challenge some student attention and engagement. Thank you. If we go back, so this would be the 5-period semester, which is what we currently have at Sanford High School. Some of the pros, more classes per year, up to 10, provides flexibility, more elective variety available, shorter 60-minute class periods, daily contact with all teachers, SRTC Block 5 elective students can take, and also students can retake failed courses within the same year, and I would say potentially. Some of the cons for the Block 5 schedule, or sorry, the 5-block schedule, is upper class students often choose schedule with study halls and early release and late arrival because they have 40 opportunities to earn 27 credits. There is scheduling conflicts that limit access to AP, electives, and SRTC. Managing 5 classes at once can feel overwhelming. There is shorter periods limit some of the depth, less time for labs, projects, and discussions. Culture of doing the minimum could potentially continue, and students electing to graduate a semester early to avoid disengagement, meaning, well, I already have all my credits. I don't need just to take this just for the sake of taking it if I don't need it. I would add also, you may have noticed during some of the things that I said, that some of the pros and also some ways can also be cons, if that makes sense. So even while I'm saying some of them, like, ooh, that could be a pro and a con, I think a lot of it also has to do on your own feeling about the particular schedule that you might have an interest in. Some might see the ability to take 10 classes as a pro, whereas other people are like, that's too many, I don't have that much of an interest. So I just wanted to add that, just to keep aware that some of the pros can also be cons, and also some of the cons can also be pros.
There is no perfect schedule.
You've got that right, Mr. Nelson. Next. Oh,
My turn now?
Yes.
Okay. Sarah's my mic on? Sorry, I usually yell in it when I get up here, so she turns it down. Sorry. So I was tasked with taking all of the data from the surveys and trying to compile it into a way that would be manageable for people to read and understand. So we'll start with the parent survey, which you have in your packets in front of you, and I believe everybody here has probably already seen it because it was shared with staff as well. But just to give you an idea of what I tried to do, and I will admit that I did use my friend Claude and ChatGPT to make sure that I was being as unbiased as possible when consolidating and presenting this information, so I played it through 2 different programs. And what we came up with, me and my friends, is to start with some visuals. So for parents, what their top priorities are. Their top priority is for their students to not feel overwhelmed around homework, having time to deeply learn materials, as you can see up here. And then the next one had the schedule preference by ranking. What was chosen first, what was chosen second, what was chosen third. And for students, 5 blocks every day was their first choice. For parents, I'm sorry, we're parents, my bad, was their first choice. It overcame 4 blocks every day by about 6 parents, and we had about 102 parents, I believe, fill out the survey. But then the next thing that we did is we weighted it. And I honestly, Claude did this, and I said, why did you weight it? And he said, because what it does is it tells you a broader pattern. Like, it might be someone's first choice, but it's also important to take in if it's somebody's second choice as well. So that's why it was ranked 3 points for first, second. So you can kind of see the overall breadth of where people were focusing for blocks. And you can tell that block 4 every day and 5 blocks every day were still very, very neck and neck. Then we also asked them, like, what were their student demographics that they were answering these questions on, just so we could get a little bit better picture. And those were the 4 choices that we gave them. And then finally, this one I had to print this down. It was just parents' priorities again for what they wanted for their students. Then from there were several responses. We had open-ended responses. So rather than trying to have everybody read through, like for the students, there was over 350 of them, we worked together to kind of come up with what are the overarching themes that are appearing for parents, for students, for staff. And we tried to, again, keep the structure parallel so that no one voice had more power or emphasis than any other voice. Just like in the 6 visuals, there ended up being 10 different themes. So homework burden and student stress was one of the themes for parents. Making sure that fitting in advanced and SRTC programs was also very important for them. Student attention span and engagement. They worry about students that can't focus for 60 to 80-minute blocks. Concerns about teachers filling that time with meaningful activities and content. Learning retention and sequential courses. They were worried about moderate gaps, if there are breaks in between classes. What support is there for struggling students if they need help with assignments was another concern. Previous schedule changes and resistance to change. There was some frustration that we've gone through this before, and we're doing this again. Can we try to make a decision and move on with it? communication and information access. It was interesting, parents also use this platform to give us information about other topics in the schools that they were concerned about. So they didn't necessarily fit into this, but they brought it in here, so we made sure that there was a place for them to be heard. Course variety and graduation requirements concerned, if things change, what's going to happen to our juniors? What are they going to have to look for graduation requirements next year? Differentiating and meeting diverse learners. And then finally, positive schedule experiences. So they shared some of their own high school experiences. And then there was a summary that do you want me to read through all this, or are you good with read through it? Okay. Okay, so unlike staff who strongly preferred 4 blocks, parents are closely divided between the current 5-block and 4-block daily. The every other day model receives significantly less support. So they made arguments for 5 blocks, more course variety, study hall options, better accommodates the AP honor students. Students already know this system because that's what they've been doing, avoids another disruptive change. Arguments for a 4-block. Reduces student stress and homework burden. Only 4 classes at a time is more manageable. More time in each class for deeper learning. Daily contact with teachers builds relationships and a consistent daily routine. And then 8 blocks, 8 classes creates overwhelming work. Lack of daily structure, confusing for students, managing different schedules on different days. And then it goes, so before I go into the notable student, staff, or staff-parent difference. So then we go to the student choices, and we had 575 students or around there, I think, fill it out. So what were their priorities? Their top 3 choices were less homework pressure at one time, fewer classes to focus on at once, and more total courses per year, which doesn't quite, we want fewer classes to focus on, but more total courses per year. So that was an interesting take for the students. And seeing teachers every day was important to them as well. So again, the student preference rankings, 378 students chose block 5. And you can see the difference between 4 blocks and then 4 blocks every other day. But then when you weight them, it shows you that 4 blocks every day weighted a strong second compared to every other day. This was the grade level distribution. We had the highest number of freshmen answer. So students' concern, we told to ask them to click all that apply. So their biggest concerns were longer class periods, fitting in all my classes, access to SRTC, and not seeing teachers daily. Those were their biggest concerns. Student plans, we also asked them, do they have any particular plans for any of these specific courses that we offer? 310 wanted to participate or are participating in SRTC. Several want to take AP classes, none of them. And then a few said they needed additional academic support. So for their open-ended responses, they had a strong preference for the current 5-block schedule. Repeatedly it was said, keep it how it is, don't change it, leave everything as normal. Students report the current schedule is working fine. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. I did see that quote several times. 5 blocks provides a balance between course variety and manageable workload. Students are comfortable with the system. After years of changes, the current schedule allows seeing friends throughout the day, which helps engagement, and students have planned the remaining high school path based on 5-block system. Overwhelming homework and stress concerns. 8 classes every other day seems way too stressful and unmanageable. Students already struggle managing 5 classes worth of homework. Would be taking nearly a full year's worth of classes in 1 semester. Advanced course students particularly worried they already have heavy workloads. Fear more students failing due to overwhelming pressure. Students with jobs and activities can't handle 8 classes of homework, and concerns about the amount of midterms and finals they would have with 8 blocks at a time, 8 classes at a time. Attention span and class length was also a concern for them. Students report they can barely focus for 60-minute blocks. 80+ minutes would be too long. Last 30 minutes of longer blocks wouldn't be productive in their eyes. Students explicitly don't want longer classes. Concern about student burnout by the end of 80-minute classes. Students with ADHD particularly worried about extended periods and feel it would lead to more hallway roaming and disengagement. Course variety and fitting everything in. Students want to fit all desired classes without having to sacrifice. 5-block schedule allows taking SRTC, AP, music, arts, and electives. 4-block schedule would force impossible choices between important programs. Scheduling conflicts already difficult with 5 blocks would be worse with 4. Music programs are especially hard to fit in. Lower chances for preferred classes and retaking failed courses, and many students pursuing multiple pathways need maximum flexibility. SRTC program access and viability was also a high concern. They felt that SRTC blocks would become nearly 3 hours long, and so I think we didn't quite make that clear for them, that their SRTC schedule wouldn't necessarily change. It might get a little bit longer. So 4-block schedule would severely limit SRTC access. Whoops, sorry. SRTC takes 2 blocks, which leaves only 2 other classes per day. Students in SRTC need to fit in graduation requirements plus desired courses. SRTC is seen as critical for career preparation and job prospects, and students value that exploratory experience for younger grades and concern that scheduled changes prioritize other factors over SRTC viability. Credit accumulation and early graduation. 4 blocks would only yield 8 credits per year. Many students want option to graduate early. 4-block may prevent this. 5 blocks give students ability to accumulate credits faster. Concern about juniors not being able to graduate on time if schedule changes. Students have planned paths based on current credit system and a request for clear communication about credit amounts and graduation requirements. Some suggest if lowering blocks should lower graduation requirements proportionally. Study halls early release and schedule flexibility. Study halls are crucial for students taking AP courses and those with jobs and sports. Study halls provide dedicated time to complete work with teacher access. Early release, late arrival is valued. Teenagers need more sleep, was a common comment. Concern that 4-block schedule might eliminate study hall options. Current schedule allows students to customize based on individual needs. Students pursuing 5-block want it. Those wanting 4-block can do early and late arrival. Anxiety about change and disruption to plans. The schedule changes create significant stress and anxiety for students. Students with routine struggle when things change. I have a husband like that too, just so you know. Schedules that change don't work for me. Confusion with alternating days adds cognitive load. Sophomores and juniors, oh, darn it, I'm touching that, have already planned remaining years based on 5 blocks. Weird to switch up the schedule, and they have already got some, if not most, of their credits. Students finally adjusted to current system after previous changes, and some students say they would drop out if schedule changed. Every other day schedule concerns. Managing 8 classes seems impossible. Homework would be overwhelming. Confusion about what day it is. Homework assignments due at 11:59 p.m. on class days, no real, quote, extra time. Harder to retain information with gaps. Would need 8 midterms finals instead of 4 or 5, and some students describe this option as chronically insane. And finally, the student voice and perspective. Request for administration to view this from student perspective, concern that adults making decisions don't understand day-to-day student experiences, acknowledgement that no solution will work for everyone perfectly, warning that some students might vote for shortest option without thinking, request to focus on actual student needs, not just administrative convenience, and teachers' curriculum concerns should also be considered. And so I'll go over the staff survey results as well. So again, in the same format, we start with the visual representations. And I believe we had like 95 staff members between SRTC and Sanford High School that responded. Time for deeper learning activities was their #1 priority. Student retention of content and daily contact with students were the top 3 priorities for staff. Schedule preference, first choice, 57 out of the 95 chose 4 blocks every day, with, as you can see, 5 blocks being third choice for a majority. And then weighted, this is what it looks like weighted. 84% 4 blocks daily, 69% 4 blocks every other day, and 46% having the 5 blocks daily. Response rates by questions, that was the instructional priority. Sorry, I got those out of order. My apologies. Professional concerns, number of preps was very high on the list. Student engagement in longer periods. supporting diverse learners, possible semester gaps in sequential courses, and planning for longer blocks were among some of the concerns. And then this shows you where the teachers kind of reside, whether they are core academics, which is math, science, English, and social studies, or electives, special education, SRTC, and other. So open-ended response themes from staff. CTE, SRTC concerns. CTE programs require significant more prep time than traditional courses for equipment maintenance, materials management, program space, upkeep, and internship coordination. Block 5 creates a burden for CTE teachers, particularly when teaching uninterested Sanford High School students rather than committed SRTC students. SRTC teachers feel their needs are fundamentally different from SHS and that trying to make schedules equitable doesn't work. Concern about fairness. SHS students get Block 5 exploratory experience, but students from partner schools don't. Some programs, firefighting, culinary, programs with living things like horticulture need daily access to prep and maintain, and request for separate SRTC teacher contract that recognizes different responsibilities. Student engagement and stamina. Strong consensus that current 5-block schedule exhausts students, especially by Block 5. Concern about student ability to remain engaged during longer block periods. Special education teachers particularly concerned about keeping students with attention challenges focused during longer periods. Acknowledgement that longer blocks allow more in-depth learning but require different teaching strategies, and some optimism that teachers will adapt methods to longer blocks. Teacher workload and prep time. This was a very high. This showed up very frequent. Significant concern about managing 8 classes in an every other day model versus 4. Worry about grading workload with double the students in every other day schedule. Multiple preps create scattered focus and reduce teacher quality. Staff want more prep time and recognition of teacher stress and burnout, and request for fewer preps and more consistent course assignments year to year. Student retention and content continuity was also shared in the concerns about students forgetting content in every other day schedule. Worry about semester gaps disrupting that sequential learning. Special education teachers particularly concerned about retention issues for their students. Counter argument, some teachers note daily schedule also creates retention issues with semester gaps, and full year course is seen as better for building relationships and long-term growth. The 5th topic, class size and equity issues. Inequity in class sizes across content areas with social studies bearing larger loads. Students able to drop electives with disliked teachers leading to unbalanced class sizes. Need for better leveling to support diverse learners, and concern about managing larger class sizes while meeting diverse learning needs. Student cognitive load and schedule management. 8 classes may be overwhelming for students. Current 5-block schedule already too much for many students. Students struggle with too many transitions during the day. Concerns about students tracking which day is which in an A-B schedule, but a benefit, fewer daily classes means less homework juggling each night. Opportunities for deeper learning. Longer blocks allow time for hands-on activities, labs, and projects. More opportunity for differentiated instruction and one-on-one support. Reduced transitions means more actual learning time. Students can complete work in class with teacher support rather than struggling at home. Better opportunity for relationship building with students. Schedule consistency and transition concerns. There's a strong desire for schedule stability. Too many changes in recent years. Current 11th graders only know one schedule, which has benefits. Students will struggle initially with any new schedule, but will adapt. Need for adequate staffing to support any schedule change, and graduation requirements may need adjustment depending upon schedule chosen. Alt school and specialized programs. Alt school needs flexibility to accept students mid-semester, and I think that was if we went every other day all year, was that connected to that. Full year courses may limit this flexibility. Life skills program students don't fit easily into any schedule due to unique needs, and some classes may need hybrid schedule options. And finally, senior engagement and early completion. Student disengaging junior year when meeting credit requirements early. Too many early releases and study halls diminish school culture. Students completing requirements by December creates momentum loss. Some suggest keeping graduation's requirements at 27 credits even with a 4-block schedule. And year-long schedule could reduce early completion issues and open opportunities for ELO and internships. And then there were a few additional considerations. Full year courses may limit number of art courses students can take. budgetary concerns with consumable classes taught for a full year, and it may limit portfolio development for post-secondary admission. Homework and student success every other day may help with homework completion. Longer blocks allow students to complete work with teacher. Missing a week of school less detrimental in every other day schedule. And then finally, teacher retention and professional support. Staff well-being and reduced burnout seen as critical for student success. Concerns about retaining quality teachers, especially CTE instructors. New teachers struggling to complete first year, and a loss of experienced teachers to other districts. So that was sort of the overview of all of the feedback that we got from the 3 different surveys. In a nutshell.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody. That was a lot, so we appreciate it. Lisa, since you were on the committee, is there anything that?
No, I just want to say that so much work has gone into the surveys and the work and the research, and I just want to thank you all for your time. It's no small task, and I know a lot went into it, so thank you very much for all your dedication to the students that you serve. Thank you.
Is there anybody that has questions? Thank you. Anybody that has any questions, any school committee members that have questions regarding the presentation that we just had? Nope, okay. All right, so we can start with public comment.
Are we going over the extra questions?
The extra question.
Sure. Okay.
Okay, so I'm doing that too? Okay. So we had some extra questions that were given to us at the beginning of last week. So Beth and Tracy and Ann and I started doing some digging. So one of the first questions was, what is the current regular ed schedule with classes, class sizes, and teacher assigned to each class? So I actually, Ann showed me how to pull the master schedule, and I was able to do that for this year. And it breaks it down by department, by the course name, the teacher, how many sections, the period, how many kids have IEPs in that class, and how many total offerings of that particular level are being offered. And I believe the committee has that in their packet. And then, so that we currently have 62 teachers, and you can see the breakdown with world language, ELA, family, consumer science, and visual performing arts, 3 health and PE teachers, JMG. I did change MLL to 1.5 and world language to 2.5 because we have Shannon that's kind of doing double duty, so I felt we needed to honor that and show those changes. So what are the current special ed classes with class sizes and ed techs along with legal student to teacher ratio requirements? We currently have 9 special education teachers at the high school with 16 ed techs. The legal requirements are an 8-to-1 or a 12-to-1. So 8 students to 1 teacher or 12 students to 1 teacher before a second staff would need to be added. But this does not take into consideration if an IEP requires a one-on-one. That doesn't affect it. And then you can see the size of the special ed classes attached in that link. What is the total student population currently? I decided to pick the date of 10/28 at 7:25 a.m. It was 1,140 because it changes often. So I thought we're just going to pick a date and time, and that's what we're going to go with. Please provide a staffing breakdown of the staff at the high school, how many teachers, ed techs, counselors, et cetera. So we had the teachers up above already. We currently have 4 full-time high school counselors, with 1 director of counseling who's an administrator with a caseload of students and other responsibilities for the district, including scheduling at the high school. We have 1 general education social worker and 2 special ed social workers and half of an outreach person. 62 teachers, and again, 16 ed techs and special ed, but we also have a study hall monitor and student success ed tech, which brings the total to 18. How many classes will no longer exist? Unfortunately, there's no way to determine that because our classes run based on student choice. If we move to a 4-block, the only one we can say for sure that will not continue would be the SRTC Exploratory. All the rest comes down to what students choose, is what runs. And again, that follows up with what are the classes that will be cut. It all depends on what students' choices are, other than if we go to 4 blocks, it would be the Block 5 SRTC Exploratory. That's the only one for sure that would not be offered. How many students do we have in an IEP 504 ADHD that will be adversely affected by an 80-minute class versus a 60-minute? We have 189 students with IEPs. We have 113 with 504s, but we have to remember with 504s, often they're health-related, not necessarily cognitive-related, even though they do also address ADHD. But this question we felt was also a little misleading, that it was assuming that these students would be adversely affected by a schedule change, and there's no data to support that. So we didn't really feel comfortable answering that question. And in addition, not all students and families with ADHD share with the school. So they may have it and we would never know. Okay. The 8th question, there seems to be no mention of having study halls for underclassmen in a 4-block schedule in the survey. This is very concerning to some of our most academically responsible students that also like to partake in sports and after-school programs. Why is this put as a 4-block pro in the overview? It's listed as a pro, as our experience is that the vast majority of students who take study halls see it as a break, but do not use it, in fact, to study. There would be no study hall if we went with a 4-block day. If we had a 4-block rotating schedule, then we would keep the study hall as students would be carrying up to 8 courses at once. The next question, is there any room for electives for underclassmen with required classes? And how many? There were 80 more band opportunities when we switched to 5 blocks than the years prior. During most recent enrollments, many students didn't join band because they couldn't fit it in with the 5-block schedule. This will make that more difficult. Students have expressed concern that they would have no room in their schedule for elective classes if we go back to a 4-block schedule. These classes have a huge impact on our students and are the reason many students come to school. Yes, there will be room for electives for underclassmen with required classes. They will have 32 opportunities to earn 25 credits in the following areas listed below. So 16.5 credits are required courses, and then the remainder are electives. So this is what is required: 5 English, 3 science, 3 math, 3 social studies, 1 PE, half a health, and 1 personal finance. The remainder are all choices by students, whether it's AP, SRTC, sociology, any of those classes would be their electives. And how do you think removing the 635?
Sorry, can I interrupt you, Beth?
Absolutely.
And that was if we went to a 4-block schedule, assuming we went back to what the graduation requirements were before.
Correct, thank you, yes. And then finally, how do you think removing the 635 SRTC opportunities will impact future-ready skills of our students? Learning how to cook, read a tape measure, CPR, and so many other skills you need to know in a day-to-day life. So we still have a cooking class offered at the high school for freshmen and upperclassmen for a full semester each. Students learn to read tape measures and rulers as part of their math programming from elementary school on, and they have STEM classes at the middle school that all students take as part of their allied arts that teach those skills. CPR is taught in regular high school gym and health classes that all students are required to take for graduation, and there's also the sophomore SRTC intro course that students can take. So I think that was all of those questions.
I also just wanted to piggyback on one of the things, a data point that Beth had shared earlier, and that was as part of the presentation that we did when we met with freshmen, sophomores, and juniors, we did share the potential of if we went to a 4-block, whether it was 4-block semester or 4-block rotating, what the graduation requirements potentially would go back to. And we made a note that it would be based on school committee approval. But, so I just want to make sure, although it wasn't necessarily reflected in the data that the kids shared, that seemed to still be some confusion, that was one of the points that I reviewed with them during the presentation.
Any questions regarding those questions?
I do have one. It was mentioned in the questions that you just answered that classes might be cut if you go to a 4-block schedule. I know you said that we don't really know like what would be cut or how many would be cut, but like classes would, like there would still be less classes offered, right? Classes would still have to be cut.
I would think of it in terms of choices. So like, for example, if 50 kids sign up for psychology, we'll run it twice. Does that make sense? If the junior class decided to go wild and no one signed up for junior English, right, we would figure out a way to still offer junior English. Does that make sense? Like if you guys all like got together and were like, we're going to show them, no one's signing up for English. Sorry, I shouldn't have picked English. But it's really based on, right now with the 5-block schedule, right, you can sign up for so many classes because you have the 10 options. If we go to 4 blocks, you're going to have less options to choose from, whether it's 4 blocks or 4 blocks rotating. So there will be less classes, there'll be less sections offered. Does that make sense? Versus classes. Does it make sense?
Thank you.
Yeah.
I believe in the spring, somebody said like 64 classes. I think I had a note of that. And the same with the band and music. There was an 80 opportunity, not person, because obviously people that are into music are usually into music. So there was like 80 opportunities difference from the previous 4-block schedule versus now. Like there was 80 more people in the springtime when we were looking at that had taken a band or music.
80 more students?
It's not people.
Not
80 more
people.
students?
If you take chorus, you take, you normally take 2 or 3, if you're in that.
Well, you would take course once.
No, like if you're into music normally, right, you're taking band, chorus, something else, right? So there was 80 more, not people. I'm assuming one person's taking 2 or 3 things from the 4-block to the 5-block in the spring. We had a sheet that, all that data you guys brought before.
There's been a lot of data. So I'm a little bit confused about 80, what the 80 more that you're saying, because I wouldn't say that it's 80 more opportunities. So that part's unclear.
Yeah, I couldn't find
I'll look. I'll see if I can, I think I know what you're talking about. I'll see if I can look. Yep.
I couldn't find the email that was given, but I had a note saying like the 634 SRTC, 80 more opportunities in band. You want to say people, but I'm assuming like some of them are taking multiple lessons in that. And then what staff took this survey? Was it just high school staff?
High school and SRTC, both.
The breakdown's in there.
Yep, it's
Page
a pie
2.
chart.
Okay.
I mean, my understanding of surveys is sometimes people just don't answer every question. So that's why if they start with that and then, but
But you also might have the nurse that had, given their take, like, and admin could as well. It's staff is staff. I mean, we sent it out, we didn't say no admin, so there could be admin that, we don't know. We made it anonymous, so. Put that up, I can't talk anymore tonight. Is this what you're talking about, this data from last spring? So this was where we were asking for a whole bunch of different numbers, like here's the study hall, early release, late arrival, and then the music numbers. So looking at the 24-25, this adds it up. There was 189 students in 24-25 that took band, and then 186 this year that took band, chorus, different things like that. Is this the one you were talking about?
And 24, 25 wasn't 5?
It was 189.
I thought it was like 27.
Wait a minute, sorry. So, but that's not just band chorus, it's also like beginning
Right, guitars, all
piano,
kinds
music
of-
theory,
anything in the visual
songwriting.
performing
Yeah,
arts,
that's
yeah.
not just took band and took chorus, it's a combination.
Are you thinking like compared to back when we did 4 blocks?
Yeah.
I don't remember that one, but I'll keep digging.
While you're digging, Paula, you had something to say?
Can I just ask, Beth, you had mentioned something about how when we just had 4 blocks, not the switching one, but the regular one, there wasn't a need for study halls?
Correct, so when we had the 4-block schedule, We did not offer study halls. I will say what we did have that we do not have right now is that we did not have the study hall position, but we had a position that we missed greatly, because she was hired to something else, where students could work on Odyssey wear. So when we had just a 4-block day, there was not a need for study hall. But for students with funky, I would just use the term funky scheduling situations or personal situations, we did have the Odyssey wear classroom for online learning that was run.
Okay.
And Spartan Time is also, when did Spartan Time come on the scene? And that's,
Spartan Time has been around a while. I mean, we were in the old building when we started Spartan Time.
so there would be a time where you have the 4-block schedule would include a Spartan Time every day that
Yes.
could be focused on remediation, enrichment, extra help.
And would that Spartan time be every day, or?
Regardless of the schedule, my understanding is we would continue to have Spartan Time daily.
Okay. And then I had another question. If we were in the 4-block semester, how many preps on average would teachers have? Is that something you can answer?
That is not something I feel like I can answer right now. Every department is different, and I wouldn't want to give a general answer. That's based on work with the master schedule, with the department head, that kind of thing.
Okay. So I also can't know how many you would have if you had the alternating? Okay.
Ms. Letourneau, I know there are some students that take online AP courses, and these are only offered when you have a study hall. So if we were to go to a 4-block everyday schedule, how would that impact the online AP courses?
Well, Ms. Castro, they're not only offered when they're study hall, because some students take AP for Me, which is a free program offered through the University of Maine, Fort Kent, which is kind of interesting. Some students elect to take AP for Me and do the work completely at home, not in a study hall at all. That makes sense. I do think a lot of kids choose to have a study hall and do it then, but we also do have some students that will do an AP course, AP for Me, which is online at home, because there's no specific login time every day, if that makes sense. Yes.
Can I ask, is there a difference between taking an AP in school versus the AP for Me online? And do colleges see it differently?
No, colleges would see it the same. I think, obviously, my opinion is that, I hope there's no AP online people watching, I think the instruction quality, I would hope, would be better in person versus online. Would you agree?
Still looking, Beth?
I can't find it.
Yeah.
I don't know what document
Yeah.
or where.
Amy, I don't have a question. I just thank you for all this information. Clearly, you guys spent a ton of time digging it up, and it really, educates a decision around this. And thank you very much, because I know it's not easy to come up with all these numbers, but they're very black and white, some of them. And there's opinion in here too, and you can see that they support different sides. But we appreciate all the effort that everyone put into this. Thank you.
All right. If everybody is good with their questions, we can move on to public comment. So thank you so much. Do we have anybody online? No?
No, there's no Zoom this time around.
Okay. All right, I don't think anybody came since we started the beginning of the meeting. And just bear with us, this just came in, but it's gonna help us with a 3-minute, it's not like we have 100 people in the room, but trying to start a standard moving forward. So we will call up, the first of the list is Richard Kuchar. I apologize, thank you so much. You were? I thought you were just Eager Beaver, so I was, sorry. I missed your star. You're always a star to us, however, that's why. All right, well, Mr. Peterman, here you go. You're the first.
Yeah, I knew you were going to have that clock, so that's why I had to come prepared. So I've been a part of, the first time we looked at schedule change when I was an assistant principal in 2013. And obviously I went through it as high school principal several times. However, now I'm here to speak briefly about the Sanford Regional Technical Center's position on the schedule change discussion from the perspective of its staff and the students from all 8 sending schools we serve. SRTC has a clear mission to provide committed students for careers, or to prepare committed students for careers in their chosen industries and developing skilled workforce to drive Maine's economy. Our students have selected a pathway and they deserve our full focus on delivering the industry-specific curriculum and hands-on training that will make them job-ready upon graduation. SRTC operates with a fundamentally different mission and structure than a traditional high school. Our program is unique in its demands. We operate specialized shops with equipment that requires extensive setup and maintenance. Our instructors must ensure rigorous safety protocols are followed every single day. This isn't about grading papers during prep time. It's about preparing equipment, testing machinery, organizing materials and equipment, and ensuring our learning environments are safe and ready for hands-on technical training. Additionally, our staff are required to maintain industry partnerships and connect with them during the preparation time. Currently, our instructors have less preparation time than traditional academic teachers, despite having complex logistical demands. This reality makes it challenging to recruit and retain industry professionals we need, professionals who could often earn more staying in their fields, but choose to invest in our students. Recruiting and retaining industry professionals as instructors requires competitive conditions. Adequate prep time is standard in quality CTE programs. The exploratory class we provide twice weekly are valuable for exposing younger students to career options. However, the current 5-block schedule stretches our resources thin and limits our ability to focus on our core mission, which is serving our CTE students. So 3 days a week, we go from 7:50 until 2:30 or 2:20 with just a 35-minute break during the day, minus Wednesdays. So with that being said, we respectfully request that regardless what Sanford High School adopts and what you choose for a schedule for them, that SRTC be allowed to operate on a schedule that serves our unique program needs and our students' career preparation. This isn't about what's easier for us, it's about what's best for students who've chosen technical education as their path forward. Thank you for your consideration. I was close.
Thank you so much. All right, Kaylee Colbeth.
Good evening, members of the board, kiddos. My name is Kaylee Colbeth. For those who may not know me, that's a big picture of me. I'm a mathematics teacher here at SHS, including AP Calc. I was honored to be the 2018 Washington County Teacher of the Year and a semifinalist for Maine State Teacher of the Year in 2019. I hold a master's degree in curriculum, assessment, and instruction. Teaching isn't my job, it is my life's work. This is my 5th year at SHS, my 14th year teaching, and my 11th year teaching AP Calc. The most significant impact of our current schedule for me personally is my AP AB Calculus course. The College Board recommends a minimum of 86.25 instructional hours to cover the required content, not including assessments. Under our current schedule, students receive just 78 hours, creating a deficit of 8.25 hours below the minimum. And that's assuming no snow days and no adjusted schedules. When comparing our schedule to other York County schools, Kennebunk, Trape, York, Noble, Massabesic, and Marshwood, all of them operate on a 4-block schedule. Their AP courses, including AP Calc, average 99 instructional hours, giving their students 27% more seat time than our students. That's a major difference when preparing students for a rigorous college-level course. Another area of concern is teacher preparation time. Here at SHS, teachers have 60 minutes a day to prepare for 4 different courses. The schools I mentioned previously average 76 minutes per day to prepare for 3 courses. That means their teachers have 27% more prep time overall, 69% more prep time per course taught, and 33% more prep time for every single minute of class time. This difference directly impacts the quality of instruction we can provide and has a measurable impact on teacher stress and burnout. It's not about working harder, it's about having the time and structure needed to do this job well. I want to express a concern about building security under our current schedule. Students are entering and leaving campus throughout the day for SRTC, late arrivals, early dismissals, and double block early dismissals and late arrivals. This constant movement creates many opportunities for potential threats to enter the building unnoticed, which we have experienced recently. I have truly enjoyed my 5 years at SHS and deeply care, that timer is scaring me, deeply care about our students and their success. My goal is, and always has been, to prepare them for their futures with the best instruction possible. However, I believe our current schedule makes that increasingly difficult to achieve for both students and staff. Thank you for your time and consideration, and considering the very real impact, it's gonna go off, impact the schedule has on learning, teaching, and safety here at SHS.
Thank you so much. Okay, Haley Francoeur.
Hello and good evening. My name's Haley Francoeur. I'm the band director at the high school. I've also been here for 5 years. I started in 2021. Obviously a very interesting time to enter my teaching career. And once I entered SHS, the very first thing that I heard about was scheduling in the music department, whether it was getting into class or coming back to band class or whatever it was. When I started in 21, I had, I don't remember what block of the day it was, but I had students that were in my room every single day. I had another group of students that were in there only on red days, and another group of students that were in there only on white days. And those kids sometimes left at the semester, some kids joined at the semester. So overall, I had about 8 different rosters, and I had students sitting through lessons twice, and students not even knowing, the other group of students that they never meet until the concert. I think probably my first 2 years at Sanford were focused on schedules. That was all I heard from our students, were, I really want to be in your class, but I can't. And it was the 4-block schedule with the enrichment block, but the enrichment block was just like a practice class, essentially, so it wasn't an ensemble, it wasn't really counting as that 5th block. Once we transitioned to the 5-block schedule, in 2021, I had 36 students in band. In 2025, I currently have 74 students enrolled in band. We've also expanded to having 2 separate band classes because we actually have so many students enrolled that we can't fit in the room. So we now can offer 2 concert band classes. We have an honors class for those students as well. And this is similar to chorus as well. I just want to throw that out there. I don't have Ryan's exact numbers, but they're very similar. But a major difference between those 2 years as well, the 2021 to 2025, is we went from having about 2 students enrolled in both chorus and band to we currently have 15 students enrolled in chorus and band, and even more counting. So this schedule has allowed a lot of opportunity for these students to do both, as well as take their AP classes and SRTC, and I rarely hear about scheduling issues at this point. Some students mention it. I think to eliminate a lot of that, whether it's our students that are taking AP, honors, band, chorus, whatever the pathway may be, I really think that the 4-block AB schedule is the best. I spent a lot of my master's degree researching this, and I just think our students need that opportunity to be able to take what they'd like to take and not be faced with these challenges. If we went back to 4 blocks every day for the semester, we would see a dramatic decrease in our performing arts. And this community values that a lot, and it's something that I really appreciate about Sanford. But I think that if we go back to 4 blocks every day, you will see a dramatic decrease in the music presence in the school district, but also Sanford as a whole. So, thank you for your time.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for taking the time to listen to our comments. I'm Harold Smith, and I teach the firefighting program at Sanford Regional Technical Center. And I'm trying to prepare students for a hazardous job, and a lot of that requires a lot of prep time. So it's not, most days I'm at school before 6:30, between 6 and 6:30. My actual scheduled prep, so I teach for 2 hours and 15 minutes in the morning and 2 hours and 15 minutes in the afternoon. So every day I have 25 minutes in between the AM class and the PM class for prep. And then the 2 days that I don't have fifth block or professional development, I have an added 1 hour and 15 minutes at the end. That's not nearly enough to prep for what I need to do. Last week we did dumpster fires down at Public Works. I was in at 6 o'clock, had the fire truck down at Public Works at 6:30. Raced back, got the students at the end of the day, had to go get the fire truck, had to fuel up the fire truck, fuel up the bus. It was 2:30 by the time I got done. The days that I have fifth block, I don't start to pick those things up until after the fifth block students leave. So I make it work because my children are adults and I can afford to put in the extra hours before and after the schedule. I'm concerned about whoever replaces me not being able to have that prep time to do quality work. The other thing that concerns me is students that are struggling, especially from our partner schools. So if I basically start a new unit pretty much every week. So on Monday, if a student, say from York, said to me, hey, I need some extra help with this, could I stay after class if he's a PM student? And then if I have fifth block on Tuesday, he can't stay after class. I have professional development on Wednesday, he can't stay after class. I'd have fifth block again on Thursday, can't stay after class. So it's all the way to Friday. We're finishing up the unit, getting ready to move on to another one on Monday before I can meet with that student and help them out. So thank you for your time.
Thank you so much. Oh, sorry, Liz White.
I have a 30-second head start before you start. Just kidding. All right. So good evening, and thank you for this opportunity to speak. I'm Liz White, a parent, longtime SHS English teacher, and English department chair at Sanford High School. I'm here to share from all three perspectives how a year-long red-white 4-block schedule will make our schools stronger, fairer, and our students more future-ready. For my son, the 5-block model was a godsend. Without the 10-credit opportunity each year, he wouldn't have been able to complete two 2-year SRTC programs, welding and precision manufacturing, which led to a full-time internship this summer at RUB Incorporated. But he's one of only 2 students out of more than 1,100 who took up that opportunity. For most, that same flexibility has turned into fragmentation, a system that looks full of options but too often limits access and disconnects learning. Now, as the parent of an 8th grader who will be here next year, I see those limits even more clearly. My daughter, like so many other students, is creative, musical, and curious. She wants to take band, possibly chorus, she's interested in art, and she's eager to start a world language. Under our current 5-block schedule, those passions simply don't fit together. Here's why. If a student wants to take chorus, it meets every other day all year, but if that same student also wants to take Spanish and both courses fall during the same block, she can't, because Spanish meets every day while chorus does not. So the conflict isn't about course choice, it's about incompatible structures. When some classes run daily and others run every other day, the schedule itself becomes inequitable. A unified red-white year-long model will solve that. In the 5-block schedule, students take 5 classes per semester, then start over mid-year, disrupting learning and relationships just as momentum builds. The red-white year-long schedule offers consistency, keeping students with the same teachers and peers all year for steady support and deeper growth. In addition, the red-white structure builds in natural opportunities for remediation and reinforcement, allowing teachers to address gaps before they become failures and reducing the need to repeat a course. I do want to clarify a point that I had made previously regarding creating sections to fill a teacher's schedule. That wasn't an argument for not needing the position. It was about the growing apathy among our students. Because of the culture we've unintentionally created, many students aren't taking advantage of the incredible electives we offer. Those courses don't run because students don't have to take them. That's why the schedule couldn't be filled. If we truly believe in our portrait of a graduate, this is the structure that brings it to life. The 5-block schedule set out to expand opportunity, but instead created imbalance, burnout, and apathy. A unified red-white rhythm reverses that trend, reducing early graduation and keeping students engaged in their learning, peers, and community. It gives students the chance to explore every part of who they are, not just parts that fit, and it brings Sanford High School back together. Now, to be clear, I recognize that many want the 4-block semester-long model. Heck, I do too in some ways. 3 classes every day, sign me up. But this is not about me or what's easiest. It's about what's best for students, their learning, their engagement, and their future. When relationships and routines last, both learning and teaching become more effective and sustainable. With time, practice, communication, and intentionality, I firmly believe the red, white, year-long schedule will do just that. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, Brody Ford.
Hey guys, thanks for having me here today. My name is Brody Ford. I'm a history teacher at the high school. This is currently my 6th year here. Today I wanted to focus my comments on where maybe we could find some consensus or just some things on my radar where I see some needed potential for growth with the schedule. From the parent survey on the schedule, a piece of feedback that stood out to me was that teachers do not coordinate assignments and everything is due at once. I agree we can do better in this regard. But in my opinion, we currently do not have a schedule that supports that collaborative work. Aside from 9th grade teaming, we really don't have that time. With freshman teaming, 9th grade core teachers have this same block off and meet once per week. At these meetings, teachers can brainstorm interventions for struggling students and even coordinate when important summatives are given. 10th, 11th, and 12th grade teachers do not have access to teaming with their grade level colleagues where they have the same block off for consistent meetings. And in my view, we need to do that instead of being kind of what feels like on an island. In thinking about the schedule and in thinking about the pros and cons, I saw that having a lot of options and electives was a pro. In my view, I often see that as a con, just because it takes us away from our important work of collaborating and talking with each other. The 9th grade teaming really works in helping struggling students, and I really wish we could do that for the other grade levels. Having these electives means we do not have common prep periods, and we can't do that. Further parent feedback which stood out to me was the desire for more interactive instruction and less lecture. I agree that that is the goal. As a teacher who has been described as pretty engaging, I will say the roadblock for me has been the number of preps and the lack of consistency in courses from year to year. In the 5 years I've completed at Sanford High School, I've taught 7 different courses. This seems counterproductive to me. If the goal is to have engaging curriculum, teachers need to grow with the courses that they put in so many hours to create, and constantly coming up with new classes and having to create that from scratch really takes me away from the time emailing students, emailing home, working with kids, and helping struggling kids, which I wish I had more time to do. Another thing with all of these electives is that we have 3 core social studies classes. Currently in 10th grade, students have the option with early and modern US. If they take modern, they may not have the chance in their high school career to learn about how we became a country, or the Civil War, or slavery, which I think is not great. If they take early US, maybe they don't have the chance to learn about the Holocaust, or Pearl Harbor, or D-Day. So I think that choice is not great. I would rather have 4 core classes and less electives. A benefit of this aligns with further parent feedback from the survey, that there is a lack of communicating during course selection. I think with more consistency year to year, teachers could help out with that. Maybe have a course fair where students walk around. And so that is what I leave you with.
Thank you. Okay, and Nick Erickson, I think, is the last one. Is there anyone else? No? You're saying no? Okay. Thank you, everybody, for your feedback and taking the time to be here once again and have this really good conversation. Sorry that it actually can't be a conversation tonight, but we appreciate the time and effort, and this gives us some things to think about and how we're going to move forward, and I guess voting for whether we remain what we have, go to the year-long, or to the 4-block, which we will vote on November 17th. And with that said, I will make a motion to adjourn this meeting.
I'll second.
All in favor? Okay, thank you.
Thank you, everyone. That's a lot.